Get Gutsy, episode number 144 with Shelley Davidescu on Change Doesn't Happen Without Action. Welcome to Get Gutsy. I'm your host, Jenny Fennig, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. A cutting-edge show blending business and spirituality, Get Gutsy serves up a potent blend of stories, lessons, and tips to help you make a massive impact in the world through your soul's work and your inspired life. No more going it alone, no more excuses. The world needs more brave women saying yes to leadership. Are you with me? Good. Let's get gutsy now. Hey, it's Jenny. Welcome to Get Gutsy. So excited to be with you today. Hey, this episode goes live on the 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. Happy 4th of July. This means something to you if you are an American, and maybe doesn't mean as much to you if you don't live in this country. But it is a very, very significant holiday in the United States of America. So, however you are celebrating today, I hope that you are having a fantastic day of freedom. It's actually reminding me of, gosh, oh my, so long ago, the year of 2009. 2009, because it was just a few months after my son was born in January of that year. It was like my big coming out party. I launched my first ever website. I put out my first newsletter, and it was around the July 4th holiday. It was a very, very significant moment in my life. I had started my business the previous year, but gosh, now as I'm sitting here thinking about it, it's really hitting me, this idea of freedom. And so I suggest that you play with this idea of freedom for you and plug into how free do you feel right now? Are you living your life in alignment with freedom, with you being able to do what you want to do? For me, when I realized that freedom was so freaking huge, is when I broke free from my previous existence in the corporate space. And this is not a knock on corporate America. It was just, for me, it was not the right place for me. I wanted the ability to work where I wanted, when I wanted, and with whom I wanted. And that was challenging to find at that point in my career. A lot of projects were, given to me. The team was given to me. The time that I needed to be in the office was dictated. The time I could really take off, the amount of time was dictated. And so once I realized like I needed a different way of working, that became my definition of freedom. So today I celebrate freedom. I send love to everyone in the world who isn't free now, whether that be, internally you don't feel free, or there's many people in the world who aren't living free now. And so I send my deepest love and blessings to everyone in the world so that they can live free. You can live free in this world. I am coming off of quite a freaking ride the last few weeks. We've been enrolling and accepting applications for our flagship experience. It's called Get Gutsy Coach Training School. This is my coach certification program, and I this week too will be interviewing candidates. We start this next round on 7/7, so that's in a matter of days, and I am just so thrilled. The level of prospect who walked in our door this time was just outstanding. The caliber of students has gone to another level. And it really does segue into the theme of today's episode, which is change doesn't happen without action. I felt like the program was ready for some change. And so we changed some things within our coaching school, and all really awesome changes, exciting changes. And I had to take some action there. I had to put some moves in place. And as a result, I'm reaping the rewards, and the crew who's going on this journey with me and my mentor coaches and guest teachers and each other are just, their lives will never be the same. And they are also embodying this spirit of change doesn't happen without action, because that's really the core of coaching. That is the core of being a guide of transformation to your people. And so today's episode is going to be really relevant for you. It's with Shelley Davidescu, and she is just a pro when it comes to change. That's what we talk about during today's episode. Shelley talks about a powerful four-step process to create change and explains why change is so scary and why it may require a mourning period, a real letting go, a grief. Shelley not only has an online coaching business, but she also has a therapy practice. And she talks about how she moves through those modalities and what her clients have in common. And she talks about how our belief systems and identities can help create major blocks and how to break free. Yes, yes, yes. Some nuggets you're going to hear on this episode: how to deliberately craft your life, the fact that you are always in relationship, that you must let go of things to create change. This is a kicker. What feels safe doesn't get you to your desired outcome. Boom. And you must commit to your progress and doing the work. Yes, yes, yes. You have got to do the work and really look at your progress, see where you're going. And it's not even about the destination, it's about who you become along the way. So I know you're going to get a tremendous amount of value from today's episode. I'm excited to share Shelley Davidescu with you. And thank you again for being a part of this Get Gutsy journey. It would not be the same without you. Enjoy. Shelley Davidescu, welcome to Get Gutsy.
Thank you so much for having me, Jenny.
Yeah, I'm super pumped to go on this journey with you, get to know you better. It's like what I love about this podcast. And I shared with you prior to us hitting record that I started batching my interviews this year, and you are the fifth that I've done. Five. I'm doing five today, and you're like my finale. So I feel like I'm at, mile like 23 in the marathon or something, and I'm all warmed up, and I'm like, woo! And I'm feeling good. I'm like high-fiving people, on the side, drinking my water, all of it. I'm just opened up, and I'm so ready to connect deeper with you. So first off, where do you live, Shelley? Where are you right now?
I'm in San Diego, where it's always sunny.
Always sunny and like
always 80. Spring or summer.
Now, have you always lived in San Diego?
No, actually, I'm originally from Mexico City. I lived there for a few years of my life until I was 8.
Mm-hmm.
Then, here to California. So I've been in California for a really long time now. So, and then San Diego for the last, I want to say like 17 years.
So you went from Mexico City to where in California?
To the Bay Area.
Okay, so Northern California, and then eventually I gotta head down to Southern California. Interesting journey. I have to say, I went to Mexico City in my previous life, when I was a corporate girl in New York City, and one of my clients, we had a big project that we were doing in Mexico City, and so I hung out there with the soccer star Pele, and it was wild, and stayed at the Four Seasons, and it was an interesting time because we were supposed to fly back, and I don't know if you remember, it hit me because I was a New York person, but like New York City had a blackout like in the early 2000s, and I was like trapped in the Four Seasons in Mexico City for longer than I wanted to because I couldn't go home because there was this blackout. So that is my memory from Mexico City.
Did you get to eat good food when you were down there?
I did, but and again, like you probably know a lot more about this than I did, but everyone was like, you can't leave your hotel without like, a bodyguard or without like, a person because you're blonde and you're going to stick out and you could, I'm like, can I just go for like a run? Because I really like to see the area and I love to travel. And that felt really disconcerting. Like even my clients on the ground, they were like, no, you can't do that. So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, I was kind of trapped in this luxurious Mexico City spot and I wanted to go see it. Is that really kind of how it is? Is that a read of why you moved? Like, what is that energy?
As sad as it is to say, it's a gorgeous city. There's so much culture, so many neat things to see. And you have to be so careful when you go down there. Everyone has a different comfort level, but for me personally, as a woman going down there for many years by myself to visit family, it didn't always feel safe, and it is not a safe city where just a woman would be, feeling safe running around by themselves. So I'm not sure. So what did you end up doing? Did you?
I hung out in the Four Seasons, like, ate all the meals. We had our client work that we, needed to handle there. But it gave me an appreciation for being in places where I can just roam freely, especially during travel. But that is my memory of that place. And it was also kind of one of the last projects that I did in that time in my life of being a public relations agency executive. Like, that was my whole thing. I just kind of realized I want a different life. So tell me about, like, have you always been doing the work that you're doing now? Like, how did you find your way in your career?
Well, I think some of your story and mine overlaps in the sense that I used to be in corporate America in my past life as well. And the daily grind, not really feeling connected to the work, really made me want to make a huge shift in my life. At which point, this was in my mid-20s, I quit my job, went traveling for 3.5 months around the world with a friend, and just really, wanted to see the world and wanted to reconnect with what was really important to me. And helping people with their own transformation was something that was born out of that. And so when I got back from my trip, I ended up enrolling in a marriage and family therapist program, an MFT program. And I also did a concurrent program in sociology. So I dove deep into the social sciences and started doing some really cool, deep work with people, with clients. And that just, I was sold on that lifestyle. So I didn't go back to corporate, to finance after that, and just really started a brand new life in the realm of helping people transform their own patterns, their wounds, their hurts, and to really transform into an empowering life that is very deliberately crafted.
I like that. Deliberately crafted. Did you think that you would become a therapist? Like, was that the road that you were on? You're in this MFT program in sociology. Like, where did you think that was going to take you?
Yeah. So I was very excited about being a therapist, and I wanted to do my program in sociology so that I can really understand the greater system at work and what kind of social issues superimpose on us as individuals and make us make decisions, because a lot of the decisions that we make tend to be unconscious decisions that are superimposed by the greater system. And so I really wanted to be aware of that, to see at the individual level, once I was going to be working day in, day out with individuals, how people's decision making is affected. So yeah, it was a wild journey. It was pretty amazing to do both programs concurrently, and just get a different level of insight about how the individual functions, how families function, how groups of people function, and move towards making more empowering decisions. So yeah, so I'm a licensed psychotherapist in the state of California. And then 3 years ago, I began my coaching business.
What prompted you to move into the coaching world?
So the coaching and therapy are quite different. And the frameworks really are what is different in the way that, they're delivered. So coaching has a much broader approach. There's a start and a finish. There's an outcome. Coaching is very outcomes based versus therapy, by its very ethical nature, you can't say what the outcome is because you can't really promise that. Although treatment goals are set, you can't ethically say, well, this is the outcome that you should have after 12 weeks of therapy. But the approach is very different, and I really enjoyed the container that coaching provides, and also the directness and level of accountability that coaching provides. I think that the level of efficacy that people experience with coaching is a little bit different. And there's a time and a place for both, which is something that I like. Yeah, I currently still do therapy. And so it's something that I feel actually is so fulfilling for me, because in some coaching elements, it's not appropriate to be doing the therapeutic work. Right. And the therapeutic work, it's not appropriate to be doing coaching. And so to have the ability to come in and out of those worlds, as I actually talk about it right now, is something that is really incredibly fulfilling for me.
Wow. That is fascinating to me. I mean, I make my living as a coach and have, programs now. I train coaches. We have our coaching school. But gosh, I don't think I'd even be in this world had it not been for my experience with therapy. And not as a therapist, right? Like as a patient, client, whatever you were called. I remember being in New York City just going, I can't keep doing this. Like, this isn't working. And I didn't have parents who were like, therapy, like that would be awesome for you, Jenny. You've been through some traumas, like the death of your sister and like all those things. Like, it wasn't made available. It wasn't even discussed, which I look back, I'm like, why not? Like that would have been a really smart thing for me to have gone. I discovered it myself, thank God, in college. And I remember like there was a student, like the students need patients to work on, like guinea pigs. And so I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. I need some help. And that was kind of my first taste. And then a few years in New York City on my first career was like, this road that I'm on, like I was smart enough to know it was not sustainable. Like it was not going to get me to where I want to be. And so I'm very grateful for the therapist I've worked with through the years. And I remember, Shelley, so interesting that, I was in that corporate space. And sometimes when you're in it, you're like, how do I get out of this? Because like, I'm here, I don't know how I'm going to get out because I have responsibilities and I have all these projects and I have a lot of stress and I have my rent to pay and all these things. And I felt like this weight on my shoulders. And I was working with my therapist at that time. I'll never forget him. His name is Dr. Rich. And yeah, Dr. Rich. I'm like, Dr. Rich. So well named too, because he helped give me this like rich life. So I remember thinking, and I would tell to him, if I could do it all over again, if I could do it all over, Dr. Rich, I would be a therapist. I'd be a therapist because I could just sit here and could help people like get through their stuff and blah, blah. And then once I discovered the field of coaching, I realized, that's so much more me, because I am like that action oriented. I'm like, okay, let's go. We got to move now. Like we gotta make those moves. But I do find that, especially when you work with them in tandem, like I'm so grateful for my therapist and I'm so grateful for my coach. And I'm so grateful that I am a coach, but I know a lot about the therapeutic world. And I'm so grateful for the healers. Like when you really tap into the modalities that are going to help you transform and break free and let go of what's not serving you anymore, you become this unstoppable force of good in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly, that's one of the things you and I have in common is that's exactly what, why I'm in the field.
So tell us how you design your business now? Like, are you working like with just straight up like therapy clients? Do you have coaching clients? Are you kind of blending the two? Like, how have you designed your business with all of your strengths and your gifts?
Yeah, so I do have two businesses. My therapy business is obviously local here.
So you have local clients who come to you in person?
Yes.
Okay.
And I have a online business, coaching business, where I do everything online, virtual, either Skype calls or over the phone. And, to kind of synthesize, my clients come to me when they're ready to make some kind of a shift. Whether they, historically, I have really help people overcome issues with food, emotional food eating. I've helped people make really powerful decisions in their business. And the majority of the women that are coming to me are really wanting to make a change and needing to understand how that change can happen. So sometimes people are in different stages within the transformation, the change transformation. Some people are in the earlier stages of decision making than others. So what I help them do is I help to identify kind of where they are and what it is that they need to do based on where they are, and especially based on where they want to go. And, you know, change, we've been led to believe that change is challenging and it's hard. And I think that a lot of people believe that. And if you do believe that, then it is going to be hard. So I work a lot with belief systems, and I work a lot with people's identity, who they think they have to be to play the roles that they have to play in the current life that they're in. Wow. And let me tell you, once we uncover and break through some of those blocks, it is life-changing. And it sets people free in ways that, like, it just, I mean, that's literally, Jenny, what I could literally see over and over and never get tired of.
Right. That's when you know you found it. You're like, I could talk about this for the rest of my life. Like, I could be doing this forever. It's amazing. Like, it's awesome I get paid, but even if I didn't, I'd still want to do it.
Yes. It's like the most rewarding thing in the world.
So why is it that we have these belief systems and that we get trapped in these identities for roles that we realize, like, I don't want to be playing this role anymore? What is it? Is it societal conditioning? Is it just the way that the world kind of, like, people are controlled, kind of fit in this little, like, system and this process and nobody causes any problems? Like, what's the root of it?
Well, it's, you know, it's multifaceted in the sense that we are half animal by nature. Okay, we are biologically wired to work and collaborate together. So we're always in relationship. So when we're talking about belief systems and identity, we actually subconsciously decide who we have to be in relationship with another person. And so it's a bit of, you know, it's multifaceted here because some of it is conditioning, some of it is subconscious decision-making, some of it is conscious decision-making. So it just, you know, just depends on the variables that are at play for a specific person. But mostly it's who we think we have to be in order to be in relationship with somebody else or something else. So we develop these beliefs around that, and sometimes the goals don't match. Sometimes who we think we have to be doesn't match where we want to go. And that's usually where people start to feel like they are stuck. That's usually when people make the same mistakes over and over, but are not sure why those mistakes keep happening. So the process is really, you know, oriented around, like, helping people gain insight around that. But insight is not the only thing that helps people change. You also have to know what actions to take and what to do in order to make that change. Because it's not a passive process. It's a very active process.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love what you said about, like, that if you think change is going to be hard, then it will be. But if we could reframe that, say, this is going to be so exciting, right? I'm going to learn something new about myself and go to a different place or be around different people and see myself in a new light. If we can vibe on that excitement and that transformative energy instead of, like, oh man, this is going to be really rough.
And, you know, to just kind of piggyback on that, so let's just for a second just talk about this concept of change. When we want to change, let's make it universal. When we want to change, there are elements of needing to let go of things, right? And so what tends to happen is when you know, as humans, we get attached. We get attached to people, we get attached to objects, right? And so when we believe that we have to let go, when we either realize or believe that we have to let go of something, then first of all, it's scary. It can be really scary. And then we start to mourn something. And what happens is, of course, that, you know, there could be feelings of sadness or pain, but that gets blanketed to the whole experience, when in reality, that letting go process is just one little piece of the experience of change. Because what you just said, like, if we could reframe it to feel exciting, to be, you know, something that is going to be positive, we absolutely can But where people usually get mixed up is that the piece where we do have to mourn whatever we have to let go of in order to transform gets blanketed. It's like, I like to use the analogy of like the caterpillar and the butterfly, right? So like if the caterpillar is busy mourning the fact that it's going to lose its cocoon, and that blankets that kind of shedding and that experience into the whole experience of becoming a butterfly, it probably wouldn't become a butterfly. It would just be busy mourning the cocoon. When in reality, the butterfly may probably spend a little bit of time with the letting go of the cocoon, but also realizing that it's about to spread wings.
Yeah.
And that's really powerful, which is actually one of the reasons why your painting in the background caught my eye with the butterfly. So.
It's so good. And I actually, as we're recording this, I just started this next cycle of the mastermind that I lead, which is called Glow. And we have our theme this round is worth, truth, and letting go. And as I was recording like the kickoff message for them, this video message, and I cited this painting because it's a relatively new painting on my wall. One of my now graduates of our coaching school, I commissioned this from her because she's an amazing artist. I saw her work. I was like, I really love it. And it's fun when you can collaborate with somebody who's then, invested in something of yours. You're like, I want to do something with you too. Like, you have this great gift. And she didn't know that for sure a butterfly was going to come. And then it did. It emerged, on the canvas. And so as I shared the message with my crew, it's like, and that butterfly, that's what you're doing here. You are transforming. And so that is like the spirit animal and I read, where was I listening? I was listening actually to a podcast. I think it was Joel Osteen's podcast. Like, I love his podcast. And he was talking about the caterpillar to butterfly thing and that, like, in order for it to be in that cocoon, it actually hangs upside down. And it has to go through a really uncomfortable process of being like super tight in that cocoon, upside down. And then boom, it's going to emerge as that butterfly. But when we're so busy mourning and we can't see that brighter days are ahead, and that this process, and I've birthed 3 babies, so I know what it's required to create life. And it's freaking messy, and it is painful, and you have to go through some sort of a transition, which honestly in the birth realm, like, you don't even think you're going to survive that. You're like, oh my God, I don't think I can do it, but then I'm going to do it. And you can't turn back. You can't be like, I changed my mind, guys. Like, I'm going to go get my nails done. Like, no, you are going through that. And, and then at the other side, you have this being, this creation. I feel like that's what we do as leaders too. And that's really what Get Gutsy is dedicated to. Spiritual business leaders, those of us who have said, I know I'm here for something amazing. I have this assignment and I'm willing to go through that change. I'm willing to let go, even if it feels scary and uncomfortable.
Yep. Absolutely.
So tell us more. Okay. So the coaching business, the whole online space, like, that's how you and I have made our connection, because we both are in this whole online space, leveraging technology to connect to people all over the world to help them make those shifts. Tell us how you design that. Like, what does that model look like? Do you do private coaching and the groups? Like, how have you done that? Because I know that's where a lot of our listeners are like, they want to do that. They're really doing it. Maybe they're ready for a shift. And I always love knowing, well, how have you designed this, Shelley?
Well, I've done a combination of both group and individual coaching, and I actually really enjoy both. There is, I think, a very natural part of me that likes to facilitate a group of women, and it's actually really powerful to have a group of women together.
Yeah.
That has been tremendously rewarding, and then I get to do the deeper work with individual women who step into the space of wanting to go deeper.
So your groups, are they programs, courses, masterminds? Like, how do you break those down in terms of like specific containers?
Yeah, I've actually had both. Right now I just finished running a group, but there's some new things coming in the future, and my mastermind that I ran, I think it was like a year ago, also was great. So, I actually want to have a hybrid, because I feel like the level of input that women in a mastermind bring into the space is really, really powerful.
Yes.
And that in and of itself is a huge intervention. It's a very powerful intervention because it really helps to elicit from each woman what they need in their own life by giving more of themselves into the group and supporting other women around them. I feel like is incredibly powerful for them as well.
Oh yeah.
They get to see things that is going on within their process and other people. So I do very much enjoy like a hybrid of a mastermind and a group because I feel like the interaction is so important.
Absolutely. Yeah. I look back, and I was just actually talking to a client of mine she's been in several of my masterminds and programs and private clients. Like, she's one of my best ever, clients through the years. And she's ready to start facilitating her first ever, mastermind / group. And, she was just sharing like, oh my God, like my client now, like she wants to come in my mastermind. I'm like, girl, let's go. Like, you doing it? Because I called her out on that on a call recently. I was like, this is what you're meant to do. Okay. This other stuff looks really good, but it's not going to like really do anything to your results. Like, you're holding back. It's time. Like, let's do it. And so she heard the message, and, I was just messaging with her, and I go, this is what it is with women. We've been gathering in sacred circle for eons. This is what we do, right? When we didn't even have clothes, we were gathering in sacred circle. This is just how we're wired. Men don't need it as much. Like, not that they don't do it, but we do it in a particular way. It's a very spiritual experience where we work with nature. My stuff, I'm like bringing in fire and crystals and, all this stuff. And women are craving this. And what I found too in my journey, be curious about you, I tend not to need to create my groups around you made a certain amount of money and then you're doing this and blah, blah, blah. Because there's enough of that out there, and I'm not knocking it. But what I'm finding is where I do best is listen, I can give you a lot of the business guidance. I've got that. But my thing is I'm this spiritual guide. So I bring in spiritual and strategic elements, and we just combine them all. And this is this journey to become, like you said, more of who you truly are, and to let go. And sometimes the way your business is going to grow is because you heal the relationship with your husband, or you let go of this thing that isn't serving you anymore. You step higher into who you're meant to be, and you stop caring what people think about you. It's like that work to me is, I feel like you can get it because of the work that you do in therapy. We can hustle and look really great with what we built in our business. But when you have these things inside of you, these traumas or, pieces that really are in need of deep healing. And I speak from experience, knowing all the traumas that have been following me, because if you don't deal with them, they'll deal with you, and they'll just keep showing up with all the things that you put out there. And you're like, why does this thing keep happening? It's like, what I know is you're going to keep being presented with a lesson until you freaking learn it.
Yeah, and you know what, Jenny? Those things actually pop up in the most unexpected ways. But if you are in tune, somewhat, that's the beauty of this all. I'm sure you know better than most people. But if you are even just a little bit in tune, you will start to see these patterns show up, and you will start to see how repetitive it becomes, and things that unexpectedly pop up, and that actually is here to tell you something.
Absolutely. I think when you get to that point, you go, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm not interested anymore. I'm not open to playing that role anymore, or being involved in that drama anymore. I know where it goes. I know the ending of that story, and no, thank you. No thanks. And so what do I, when people are, if they're listening right now going, okay, yeah, I see it. There's something in my life that is what guidance would you offer to your clients who see, okay, there's a pattern that it needs to be broken, right? You're going to remove yourself from that now. Because I think for many, it's the fear of the repercussion, right? Of what's so-and-so going to say when I say I'm not going to do that anymore? I'm not going to return their call, or I'm not going to engage in that sort of behavior. How do you guide your clients to be able to really make the change and maintain the change?
Yeah. super powerful. The first step is awareness. Always is,
Yeah.
What are you aware of that is taking place? The second piece is getting really clear on the desired outcome, because when things get scary, that's a really good reminder. And that's something that I actually returned back to remind my clients what their desires are. And as like a therapist and a coach, that is my job, to help them meet their goals, right? So the process of getting to the goal can feel unstable. It can feel scary sometimes, and oftentimes it gets worse before it gets better.
Yep.
And so it's always a really good reminder to go back and just say, hey, so let me just check in with you. Are you still wanting this outcome? Yes? Okay, perfect. So let's move forward. Yes, it's going to be challenging, or it's going to feel scary, but right. So the next step after that is to have a plan on how to get there. And there's two things I think need to be distinguished within the plan. The first one is, how do things change logistically, and how do things change emotionally? And it's really great to make those two distinctions, because when we mix those two together, it gets really overwhelming and really confusing. And so that's actually why the deeper work is super important, because you can't really make that distinction and understand what's going on if you don't do the deeper work.
Yeah, well, that's
so
good.
Logistically, you've got to have a plan for how relationships play out, how patterns change logistically, what that's likely to feel like, and also have a plan B for when it feels really scary, because people go back to the way things were because it feels scary, and that's normal, because your brain is actually brilliantly designed to scare the shit out of you so that you continue to do what feels safe. But as you and I both know, what feels safe does not get you to your outcome, to your desired outcome, because we're really looking at evolving as humans and to reach our highest potential. Right? Like if we maintain safety, if we're always looking at being safe, right, that's not going to help you reach your highest potential. Having that courage and going through the tough times is what helps you overcome and helps you reach that higher potential. So those two have to be separate: the logistical changes, but also the emotional changes.
Yeah, I like the way you separated those out.
Yeah, and then after that, it's a matter of taking action. And sometimes, depending on the personality of the person, sometimes action might be slow and sometimes it might be quick. It just depends what their propensity is or what their inclination is and what their own personal challenges towards that is. But change doesn't happen without action.
Yeah.
It's an active process.
Yeah.
Because the alternative ends up feeling like you're a victim. When change happens to you, because change is going to happen regardless.
Absolutely.
Change happens all the time. But if you're not in the active process of changing, then change is going to happen to you, and that's actually going to perpetuate you and further into a victim position. Oh, things happen to me. Oh, this happened to me. And that's just not empowering. It doesn't feel empowering for anybody.
Exactly. I when I do these podcast interviews, I love taking just like written notes, and I'm going, and then I'll highlight things like because after we wrap, I go and I find like, what's the name of this episode? I love naming the episodes. It's like super creative process for me. But you said some really amazing things there. What feels safe doesn't get you to your desired outcome, and change doesn't happen without action. And my love is like aligned action, aligned, inspired action. I think once you become awake, on this journey, especially those of us who've done the inner work, the therapy, the healing, the coaching, like, choose your modality or a blend of all. It's kind of impossible to go back. I have a quote. It's like, you can't unrealize what you've realized. You could try, because I'm just like, oh, okay, I'm just going to pretend I didn't know that. I didn't realize that. But once you become awake and tuned in about, how this thing works, and you see these new possibilities, and I feel like once you get on the path, you're almost like pulled into it. It's like, what for me, like just people drop in, I'm like, I'm supposed to work with them. That's the next level. And if I'm not saying yes to that, it's like I'm just basically saying to the universe, like, I don't need your help. I'm just going to do it all by myself because I know what's best. And it's like me, once I've just decided to co-create with Source, with God, with that just gorgeous energy that is available to all of us, call it what you want. That is when my life, it just, to this day, I'm like, thank you. I'm just in deep gratitude. But I know, as you just said it, it's like doing that inner work, and knowing that not everybody is open to it. And, we can't make them. And yet we also don't have to be kind of like held back because this person isn't open to doing the work and doing the healing. So how do you do that? Like, you have people in your life who, like, oh man, if they would just go through therapy. How do you, like, do you have a tip? Because I sometimes struggle with that. You're like, oh man, that would just be so great.
Yeah, it's interesting because being a therapist and a coach, I'm very aware that, transformation can happen many different ways, and it doesn't always require therapy. It doesn't always require a coach.
Yeah.
I think as long as somebody is committed to reaching their highest potential, to doing the work, to asking the tough questions, to having those tough conversations, I think that's what's important, and to be really honest with themselves about their level of progress. I think that honesty, I think sometimes we like to think that we're making progress, but a lot of times we make excuses or have really good reasons for, the progress. And progress is super subjective, of course, right?
Yeah.
So each person will know on their own what their truth is around progress. So I think that that's really important, is being committed to the process, being committed to really reaching the highest potential, asking the question, like, is this really the best that I've got to offer?
Yes,
Right?
I like that.
When we really focus on ourselves and going through the transformation that we need to make for ourselves, we have more to give to other people. And that's really the whole point of my work, my life's work, is when we take care of ourselves, when we transform internally and sometimes externally, right? Because that's going to ripple into every area of your life, then we have the ability to show up more centered, more loving, more secure, more giving. And that's just a win-win for everybody.
You just said it. I think you just encapsulated why I've done everything that I've done over the last however many years I've been doing what I'm doing. So thank you. That was very, very helpful. Shelley, how can people find out more about you?
Yes. So you can find me on Facebook, my profile, Shelley Davidescu. You can also go to my website, shelleydavidescu.com, which is actually right now going through a little bit of a lipstick swap. We're getting a little bit of a facelift, but
fun.
It'll be done by the time this airs. And I'm also on Instagram.
Nice. Okay, cool. We will check you out, Shelley. So go to her website, everybody, shelleydavidescu.com, or you can go to jennyfennig.com. Type Shelley's name in the search bar. You'll find this episode, and you can dive into all that juicy goodness and the links to go find our girl, Shelley. So, Shelley, you are one gutsy woman and you're wise. Like, I think what I'm struck by in you is your wisdom that comes through your journey, and, you're diving deep and, like, really wanting, what I'm feeling is, a real desire to just own this craft and to go deep into it so you can be the most powerful partner to your clients. So I salute you for that. And I'm very curious to know the answer to our finale question. What's the gutsiest move you've ever made, and how does it inspire your life and work today?
Wow. There's been several, but I think the gutsiest move has been to commit to my own work, which I knew as soon as I committed, I knew that not only my life would change, but it would ripple and transform all of my relationships. And the reason why I think that that's probably the gutsiest move to make is that this is coming from a person who, was a complete people pleaser, wanted to make sure that I did everything and anything to have people like me. And that is incredibly scary, to say yes to me first and foremost, regardless of what people say, is very scary because you don't know what the outcome is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
You can have good intentions, but inevitably that changes relationships. But I feel like that's the gutsiest move because it's really being committed to the higher work and keeping faith about what that outcome would be.
Yes.
And sometimes that can be risky, but I think that it's really well worth it.
Yeah. And what I found is the people who are meant to be in your world will get that. And those who can't handle it are those who are meant to fall away. It's like, okay, we can't take everybody with us on this journey. Some are just meant for like that last chapter, and then you got to go. And there's others who are lifers, and they're going to be okay with you becoming healthier, stronger. And I think for a lot of women, especially, like we hold on. We're like, oh, if I do this, like so-and-so is going to just be crushed and I can't do it. But yet, by you not doing it, you're denying yourself. Like you're denying your own truth, which I believe leads to illness. It leads to just so many things that aren't worth experiencing, right? So good for you, Shelley. Yay! Well, awesome having you here. Thank you again for being here. All you listeners out there in the galaxy, I know you got a tremendous amount of value from this episode. Like I literally took like 5 pages of notes, and I feel so enlightened around just that path of inquiry and understanding that first step is awareness. And so for you listeners out there in the galaxy, what has this episode made you aware of? And what are you willing to take some action on, and where might you need some support around that through a therapist or a coach or, a sacred circle? Like it can look like many different things, but the idea is you are here to fulfill your potential. And I hope this episode did just that for you. So again, thank you, Shelley, for being here. Thank you, all you listeners. This is Jenny Pfennig sending you so much love, light, and faith as you get gutsy. I will see you next time.
Hey, this is John Lee Dumas of EO Fire, and you're listening to Get Gutsy with Jenny Pfennig. Gutsy leaders unite and ignite.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Get Gutsy as much as I enjoyed creating it for you. Are you responsible for leading and growing your spiritual business? If so, I have a free tool for you that will help you spread your message like wildfire. It's called the Sacred Marketing Puzzle, and it's a 1-page PDF guide that simplifies the often mysterious and confusing world of marketing. When you use sacred marketing tools to amplify your message, you'll provide huge value to your tribe and grow your business. What are you waiting for? Go to jennypfennig.com/puzzle to get yours instantly. That's jennypfennig.com/puzzle. Gutsy leaders, unite.